All right, shall we bring in Florida Governor Ron DeSantis? Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Great to see you.
Governor, are you more confident this time around than last time around when you were vying for the nomination, had to come from behind to do it, and then eventually would win the governorship? Can you describe your mindset today as opposed to 4 years ago?
Well, today is great because I'm unopposed, so I don't have a primary. Obviously, I did have one 4 years ago. We knew we were in very good shape 4 years ago. I remember Fox did a debate, and so we had worked very hard. The general election 4 years ago was a blue wave year. I was an unknown candidate, and it was a tough race. I think this time, I think we have the wind at our back, and I'm running on a record of accomplishment. I mean, if you think about what we've been able to do over the last 4 years in the state of Florida, we have been the focal point of freedom in this country. We have people that want to visit here, people that have moved here. We have a lower unemployment rate now than we did prior to COVID, which no one thought would have been possible. You continue to see us adding jobs in spite of all the headwinds from the Biden economy, and we ended the fiscal year with a $22 billion surplus, by far a record. And none of that would have happened if I had done what the people on the Democrat side wanted to do. They attacked me for every decision I made, keeping the state open, keeping businesses afloat, protecting people's rights, making sure kids could be in school in person, making sure people didn't lose their jobs based on a shot mandate. And so had they had their way, Florida would not be flying high. Florida would be in the doldrums. And so these are important races, important election, and we're going to really, really work hard over the next 80 days.
Okay, so you are running unopposed. On the Democrat side, they've got four contenders. Charlie Crist, who you've got something in common with. You're a Republican governor. He was a Republican governor once upon a time in Florida. You've got Candace Daniel, you've got Robert Willis, and you've got Nikki Fried, who, listen to this, Governor, in this soundbite, I don't think she likes you.
We're going to talk about democracy and freedom, because as our governor continues to talk about freedom, he's taking away a woman's right to choose. He's taking away freedom of speech. He's taking away our opportunities to teach in our classrooms. That is not freedom. That's oppression. And I know that we are going to see in November, we're going to see the tyranny and the tyrant of Ron DeSantis.
Well, you say it's freedom, but she says it's oppression, Governor.
Yeah, Steve, you talk to Floridians who've been here for a long time, people that have just come over the last few years. The reason why they're doing that, the reason why they're happy with Florida is because we've protected their freedoms. We stood in the way of lockdowners like Nikki Fried, who opposed every decision I made to protect people's rights. And when she says you don't have freedom of speech in the classroom, understand what she means. She wants to use our schools to indoctrinate students into her ideology. And our position on schools is that the purpose of the school system is to educate kids, not to indoctrinate kids. So yes, we oppose things like critical race theory in our K through 12 schools. We want to teach accurate history, we want to teach American civics, and we want to make sure that parents have confidence that sending their kids to school, the school's going to be focused on the core academic subjects and not try to inject left-wing ideology into the curriculum.
You do have a teacher shortage. I know you talked about maybe using veterans to do that, but I think one of the big things in Florida is the pay is so low. What are you doing about the pay?
Well, Brian, since I've been governor, we just did the largest pay increase for teachers that we've ever had in Florida. When I became governor, the average minimum salary was just over $40,000. With the budget we just signed, it's now going to be over $48,000. So we're in the top 10 for average minimum salary. And if you talk about recruiting teachers, that's what you want to do. I'd also just point out that, Florida per capita teacher vacancies are less than the national average and much less than states like California. You wouldn't necessarily know that from the media because they tend to only focus on Florida with things. I wonder why that is. So I think we've been very smart to have gone after the average minimum salary to raise that over the last couple years. I do think it's paid dividends. I think you're going to continue to see it pay dividends, but we're very proud that we've put that effort into teacher compensation.
Yeah, well, now Florida has a lot more students that have emptied out from New York and New Jersey down into Florida as well. But you're not only taking on Democrats, you've also taken on the media, and now you have a new ad based on the very popular movie Top Gun, channeling your inner Maverick. Let's take a look and get your response.
don't fire unless fired upon. But when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill.
So how did you come up with that idea for that ad?
Well, I think it was something that my wife initially thought about, because you talk about the dog fighting, and it's like, okay, well, what is our dog fighting? It's dealing with corporate
Top
press
Gov.
and always making sure that we stand our ground. So we came up with the Top Gov. When the movie came out, the merchandise did really well, so it was neat. But then now, because it's coming out on streaming today, we figured there'd be more interest in it, so we figured, how could we do it? But just for the record, want to make sure, you know, my 4-year-old son is an aficionado already about fighter jets and naval aviation.
Yeah, of course.
And he is Maverick, not me. He is Maverick. He makes that very clear whenever we talk about it.
He made an appearance in the ad as well.
You are Top Gov. He can be Maverick, but you are Top Gov, according to that ad. And you've also got the jumpsuit. I wanted to ask you, Governor, for a moment, your reaction to the earthquake news from yesterday that Anthony Fauci is going to finally step down to pursue the next chapter in his life. He has been on TV nonstop for the last 2.5 years. Here's a little montage to summarize some of the things we've heard from the top doc. Watch.
So it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science, because I represent science. You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. I'm the bad guy to an entire subset of people because I represent something that is uncomfortable for them. It's called the truth.
Okay, you're going to miss him?
Well, I think he's done a lot of damage. I think he should have been gone long ago. And if you think about what he's done with his arrogance, that's part of the reason why he's advocated policies that have been so destructive. He thinks people that disagree with him are somehow beneath him. But his policies were the driving force behind locking kids out of school in parts of this country for over a year, forcing them to wear masks for 8 hours a day for 2 years. He cost people jobs. He destroyed people's businesses with his policies. And he was never willing to admit he was wrong when it was clear that those policies don't work. You know, it's one thing when you're in the thing, when it just came out, it was a novel thing. There was a lot of information people needed. So just admit that some of the things you said were wrong, and he will not do that. He's not been honest about what he did in Wuhan with funding the gain-of-function research. And so I hope if Republicans take control, that they will get to the bottom of everything from the origins of COVID to all the manifest failures of the public health establishment, particularly Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Right. I think he's done more damage to more people and more ages than anyone else in this country. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it soon. Real quick, 2 weeks ago in your state, the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. They pulled out boxes upon boxes of after a 9-hour raid, including going to Monica's closet. The president has filed for a special master to review exactly what they took. Your thoughts on the raid? Your thoughts on his motion?
So the FBI has a history now of weaponizing its power to go after people that it doesn't like. And not only have they done that in a variety of contexts, they went after Donald Trump as a candidate specifically with Russia collusion, even when he became president. And they were basically trying to drive him out of office based on a conspiracy theory. You've seen FBI agents falsify FISA applications to get surveillance on innocent Americans. We're seeing what's happening with this Michigan kidnapping hoax, which is a total disaster for the Bureau. You look at what's happened with having FBI agents surveil parents going to school board meetings. Who would have ever thought that? So I think when Republicans look at that and they're upset about it, it's against the backdrop of all that conduct where basically these agencies have become the enforcement arm of one particular faction of our country against everybody else. And so that's why I think people are concerned about it. I haven't read the motion in terms of what was going on, but clearly federal agencies in the past 5-10 years have been weaponized against people the government doesn't like. That's just a fact.
Governor, have you spoken to the former president about it or about anything lately?
Well, Brian, to the extent I do have conversations with them, I'm sure DOJ and FBI would leak that to the New York Times. So stay tuned on that.
All right. Governor, thank you very much for joining us on primary day today in Florida.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.